Welcome back to Get Tales. So, I went ahead and made the app. Not to fear, it was always my plan to bring it along a couple of moments after. But it is basically doing what I wanted to do before shipping it off as a first iteration to the person who has no idea this is coming. What does it do? Select from these different images. So there's like a gallery detail views. I like to put the name of it up here eventually. But for now, it will walk a dot around a form that we've chosen, and we'll display the numbers, the coordinates that's in. Now we have the ability to switch that between polar and Cartesian. Right now it's just stuck into Cartesian, but as you will see in the code, the shapes are actually defined by a function that's in the polar coordinate system. So we're already making the switches here. What does it do? Right now it will only do that. It does not have this functionality yet, the value changer or reverse button, or the tool selection, wanting to switch it from rotation to scale X, scale Y, that sort of thing. I mean to have these as boundaries to show where the shape is. I may remove it because it looks better as a divider really than a boundary, and this can just get thrown out. However, this is good enough to ship, that's for sure. As you can see, the number isn't changing because it hasn't moved off the horizontal line yet, and it now starts going back up. We'll cross through 0 and go to the other direction. The whole thing is at 512 is the current max numbers, and of course that 512 being the max number is only kind of internal. Everything can be converted after the calibration, which is another screen altogether. Funny little quirk right now, of course, is that it is continuing to do this run even though we've switched. So actually, if I go over here to the, let's say, the square or the four-sided object, it's going to be making it spin this way. But again, good enough for a demo. I'd like to have this eventually clear out. Again, I'm having there should be a name here. I'm just seeing it now. That should be there. Hold on. And we're back. Thanks. I've corrected that problem. And I think I'll actually go through and show in a later video what the change is that was. Now we have it coming up as the 6-sided objects, the 9-sided objects, the 4-sided objects. Of course, these are all just demo objects. We can make these things into whatever we particularly prefer to have them as. And it runs. Outrageously pleased by a little dot running around a path. So how did it come about to this? We're going to go through a lot of the code that makes this up. We're not going to go over the code so much that's making this fun little effect happen at the top, where I have it going up and under this little object here. Really, because there's very little that I've changed, and there's very little I've changed that involves this. This was originally a gallery app that looked quite a bit different than this, but solving the same general problem of going dark to light, light to dark in a scrolling list. The problems therein, of course, is that you'd have your light text on top of dark, right? And you want to have dark text on top of light. And how do you switch between those two? Do you just flip the thing? One screen it looks like the dark text on light background, and on the next it's going to look like the light text on dark background. How is it supposed to make that transition? Is a question I was asking myself when I first made this the demo project that I adapted for this use. So the you'll see this little how it has to turn dark in the background to complete this look of the cube moving, and then on the same time when it moves back, it has to go light on that background. See, it goes dark on that background, then it goes light on that background. That's kind of the level to which I think animation needs to be kind of regarded in order to really be convincing. Now, what isn't convincing, of course, is this dot. As I said before, it's moving around the triangle that we saw earlier, and not this square down here, that I've selected. That's fine. It could be that actually could be a feature, not a bug. Things are only the way that we make them. This requires a few more screens. I have drawn up the design work that I did for this and the other screens that it's a part of, and we'll go over those soon too. But this is what the kind of thing I'm thinking about in terms of being able to work with vectors and having a catalog of them that can be written out in coordinates to some machine. Again, I'll link in the bottom of this video to a description of that machine. Boy, I didn't expect it to work that easy. Next things are to put I'll say in the design documents, a calibration screen, so you can have the camera on the back side of the phone. You can see all the love and care I give this thing. Can show through to the back of this screen, so we can have a transparency of crosshairs to show where this is pointing, and be able to actually trace out a line and show it on this screen. And that's the way that we can get people to write lines and also make shapes and put them into this. One of the things I really had a bit of think about, and people talked to me about this a few times, was that the vectors, they can get very resource intensive when you start using them a lot. Particularly if you've got vectors coming from something like Illustrator, where it might not be one path or two paths or three paths that make a very clean image, but instead are hundreds of paths put together just so that it looks good enough on Illustrator, and the user never really cares so much about it. I'm interested to see if this will do the triangle, by the way. Let's see. Or if it will do the dodecahedron. Yeah, it is a dodecahedron. It's a decahedron, at least. Yes, it is. Nice. So the solution to this, at least to the problem of too large of path files of path descriptions, let's say, too many paths, that usually bog down the kind of responsiveness of the UI when that happens. See, I'll be going around that other one. That can be solved by having the input controlled. So not accepting random SVGs. You can't email this thing a SVG and it'll pick it up and you click on an email, open up in this app. It's not going to be able to do that. If we were to make an application that were capable of doing that, we would have a pretty worthwhile application. But certainly one that would have the potential to take down your phone pretty hardcore. So instead, by having the user putting information in through the app only and keeping it stored as I am keeping it stored, very simple files, as you'll see, all of these are just points, right? That says how they're being, that interface as I described earlier, what's coming out of the mock interface is just a list of points, right? And then the app takes care of the rest. So when it comes to questions of like rotating the points and moving that path back into the points and all this sort of thing, that will be the actually we do this knowing that will be a more difficult problem to solve, right? If we all of a sudden decide to make this as a square to the side and store that shape instead of this diamond, right? I would need to write something to calculate what those points would be based on these points being rotated. Now, thankfully, there's the paths can be rotated and then those points removed. As again we'll see, you can actually ask the path what its points are, which is why our little that's a 10-sided demo object is running around so nicely right there. It's just following the path and asking, well, as I'm at this distance around the path, what are my coordinates? So we choose a very simple and straightforward storage mechanism, i.e. just a collection of points. But a very nice thing to have on an interface, right? It's just pair of floats, right? This is easy to serialize. But it really doesn't take advantage of a lot of the things that SVGs offer, curves, Bezier curves, stuff like that. And so we'd have to figure out some way to get that into here if we wanted to really go whiz bang with it. I think that's fine. That we're not making the most whiz bang product ever right here. The other thing I might need to do kind of sooner than that, even just in terms of UI to show that it can be there, is a action button of some sort. Maybe here actually. I kind of am thinking about putting it over here. But an action button for calibrating, or for creating a new one. For creating a new one here. And that same action button will have a calibration icon for it if the calibration is needed, and that's going to come from this screen. That calibration is going to look a lot like this, actually. It's going to use very much this screen. Well, I think that's it for today. As I said, the next step in this is going to be this floating action button. However, the next step in this video series is going to be the design behind this. I have a couple of drawings out on it, the reasons why I went to where I was going. I'll bring you along with this. Also upcoming soon is the computer build, so look forward to that. Thanks, and happy hacking.